Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we are seeing another red day in the Chinese stocks, and my entire channel revolves around these stocks, Asian but particularly Chinese stocks. And I've been saying that they are undervalued, but then we always have red days. Not red days, but it's been dropping like crazy for past few days. Whereas I say that US market is overvalued, but every day it's going up further and further. So what's happening, Sahil? What's up? Well, the recent one is definitely attributed to Didi drama that's happening around there. So in this video, let's just focus on that. So yeah, let's talk about it. Cheers. Alright, so I'm pretty sure everybody knows what's been happening with Didi and all the drama around it. But just for the benefit of the people who are not familiar with it, I will briefly cover what's been going on. So starting with what's Didi. So Didi is Uber of China, if you want to put it that way. But they are really bigger than them. In fact, twice as big in terms of number of daily rides. So yeah, what happened is Didi wanted to go IPO, raise some money for the early investors, VCs and private equity investors. So yeah, they did so last week. However, just 2 days after they went live on trading, they announced that they are being investigated by CAC, which is the Cyberspace Administration of China, on the grounds of national security with their data handling on all those issues. So yeah, and just after that, this Monday, on 4th of this month, they were taken down from the app stores of China. So no new users can go on and download the app. However, the existing users can continue to use it like normal. So yeah, but that was a big step, and that's really something. But what bothered me from this thing is the timing of this happening. I was quite surprised why would Chinese government and the regulators take this step just 2 days after the IPO. That was really surprising. Like, on the one side, Chinese government, they are trying to improve their image. Like, nobody trusts the Chinese government around the world. So they have been doing various things like charity work and working on their pollution, all those things, like doing the Olympics and stuff like that, just to improve the image in front of the world and to be seen as a more stable country. But by pulling off such a stunt, like going in and trying to bring down a company just after they started trading on an exchange, it's really crazy, right? All the investors, they gave their money to the company, so the money has already flown from the US investors or other investors around the world into China, and then you go on and crash the company. So that is really stupid thing to do. And why would they do that? It just goes against of what they are trying to do all this while. And then this following news came out. So this is from Wall Street Journal. They say that Chinese regulators actually suggested Didi to delay its IPO. And South China Morning Post says that Didi forced its way to its listing, triggering the security review. So basically, what this says is that the regulators were actually trying to delay, like they told, and it is something that the company knew, that the investigations were there. However, they still pushed for their IPO. And it also says that they actually rushed for it, because if you see over here, it says that they wrapped up their pre-offering roadshow in a matter of days in June, much shorter than typical investor pitches made by Chinese firms. And also that they were facing investor pressure to list after raising billions of dollars from prominent venture capitalists. So yeah, it seems like Didi already knew about this thing happening, and the Chinese regulators were already investigating the company. They actually demanded a self-examination of its network security, according to the people with the knowledge on this matter. So it was going on before they even started to trade on the exchange. However, I mean, this was not mentioned anywhere, not in Didi's prospectus or any announcements that they made. They didn't mention it at all, and it's very fishy to see that. Obviously, Didi still denies that they had any knowledge of this review prior to their IPO, but if I'm not sure which one to believe, right? Over here, there are people, and I also read it in one of the news reported that it was the employees of the company that were telling that they were being pressured by the regulators to delay their IPO, but then they still went ahead and did it. So yeah, it's kind of very unethical to do. I mean, obviously it's good for them, right? They see a problem happening, so faster go and list your company, take the money, raise the capital for the venture capitalists, like they can exit, and then you dump everything on the retail investors. So this happens a lot, but if you find this kind of thing out, then you know that the management, or rather the board of directors, are not ethical. They are only very selfish, and they're not going to think about the investors in the future. So it's not a company you should ever be investing in. Like, this kind of thing is going to repeat because the management and the board of directors are not going to change. This kind of selfish act is going to show up in the future dealings as well. So that is shit. However, talking about the regulations, right, I'm on board with the regulations. I mean, a lot of people are like worried about Chinese government being coming in and regulating with what happened with Alibaba, and then now this thing. But on the other side, like, everybody before this was complaining like Chinese companies are not regulated and all blah blah blah, like what happened with Lunkin Coffee, and they started complaining like China's government is not like overseeing and there's a lot of fraud and stuff. But when the government starts to regulate, then they start making noises as well. So to me personally, I feel that regulations are good. It makes the place more sustainable, like the growth sustainable. With like what happened with Ant Group and Financials, right? They were on their business was lending money, right? And they're lending money freely. That would create a lot of problems, like what happened in '07 in the US, the housing boom and bust. So that is the issue that China could face as well, a financial bubble, if that things had to happen. They're already facing a huge debt issue, corporate debt issue. So if that flows down to the people as well, it's going to be a big financial burden. And that's where the government came in, and then they regulated for the fintech, which and financial is to operate like a bank. So they have more regulations to have. They have to hold more money for the lendings they do and all those things. So it's just good, right? They are being regulated like a bank. If they want to lend, then do it properly. So for me personally, it's a good thing. It makes the place more sustainable for future growth, and not just like a boom and a bust story, right? Now, I'm not sure what are the intentions behind the investigation of Didi. Like, we can just speculate, right? Maybe it's just because there's a lot of data that has to be made public when you go IPO, especially in US. So that's something maybe China doesn't want to do, like how US didn't want to let TikTok operate in US just because there was data security reasons, right? So the same issue, if US does that, then China do the other thing. So this thing happened, but it's just not limited to that. They also started investigating into 3 other companies, like 2 of the truck hailing companies, and then recruitment app as well. They did on the similar grounds, so they're investigating them as well. And not just limited to all these apps, they're also further investigating China's. So this news says China stepped up supervision of overseas listed firms after Didi IPO drama. Hong Kong is not considered overseas for China, right? For China, Hong Kong is their territory. So yeah, all the overseas one are basically US listed firms, and these are all the other firms. Like, for me personally, I hold a lot of companies that are listed in US. I have JD, I have Baidu, and there's obviously Alibaba and all the other companies that everybody's invested in. So it's going to have huge implications. And the more serious effect is that on one side, China is reducing the amount of data that is being published out to US or the rest of the world. But on the other side, US is demanding more. They want their oversight board to oversee the auditing of the financials of Chinese companies listed in US. And if that doesn't happen, US is going to delist these companies. And that is something that the risk of that happening has just increased, since China is stopping the firms to supply all this data. So they are not going to let these US oversight board to audit the Chinese companies. So yeah, I think now this risk has become more serious if this goes on. And obviously the companies understand this as well, and most of them has already found their secondary listing in Hong Kong exchange. just in case this happens. But anyways, if that happens, and if the companies get delisted, then obviously a lot of investors that are based in US are gonna pull out their money. It's not gonna be same as what happened with China Mobile and all this thing. They were just banned. They can't get any investments from US firms or individuals just because they have a tie-up with the government, Chinese government, right, in some way or the other. So that is a different story. But delisting won't make it necessary for US investors to pull out their money of Chinese companies. But the companies just can't trade on the US exchanges. But anyways, I think that would, like, not a lot of brokerages in US provide Hong Kong access, so it could result in a lot of dumping of the stocks. So yeah, and that's what we are seeing right now as well. As the risk grows, right, a lot of people are dumping their shares, and we are seeing all the reds happening in the Chinese stock market. So yeah, these are my thoughts about what's happening, and you guys can let me your thoughts on what's happening as well in the comments below. So yeah. Until the next one, ciao.